Yeah, we're live with the CyberPowerPC CS:GO Invitational. My name is Hugo, and joining me for the first game of this lovely evening or lovely day, depending on where you're from, is Dust. How are you doing, Dust?
Indeed, it is a lovely afternoon here in the States. Obviously, for you over in the UK, it is in the evening. But yeah, this is another event from CyberPowerPC. I've done a few of these events online over the last couple of years. It's always a lot of fun. Just a weekend tournament. 8 teams from North American region, or teams that compete in North American region at least, with a prize pool of $25,000, $14,000 for first place, $8,000 for second, and $1,500 for the other two semifinalist teams. We also have some cool giveaways going away as we usually do for these events, so do make sure that you check that out, as this time we have a little bit of something different. Not only do we have a normal giveaway that you can enter in over there towards the bottom of the stream, but you can also predict games and have a chance to win even a different set of prizes from being good at your match prediction. So be sure to check that out as well, as it's always fun to try to see if you can guess along with the games and see if your prediction is up to snuff. So there you go.
Indeed it is, Dust. But we have some interesting teams in this event. So let's spend a couple of minutes before the first game goes live, of course, Gale Force versus Splyce. And let's talk about those teams, those matchups in the bracket. Let's get the bracket on screen and have a look. Obviously, I think one of the big names in this whole event that everyone's looking to potentially take it away without too much of a fight will be Cloud9. What are your teams that maybe could surprise us in this event? Maybe could have a bit of a shock or an upset and get themselves into the semis or the grand finals when the others would expect they wouldn't?
It's kind of hard to read because a lot of these teams are in disarray right now. Obviously, you look at Ghost Gaming, which are fielding 2 stand-ins in this tournament. You have the ex-Counter Logic Gaming team, the Unemployed for Christmas, solid team name, of course. They've obviously been through some roster changes as well, only fielding 3 out of their 5. So when you kind of consider that going on, and even GX has only just recently picked up Whitmer as an in-game leader for their team after having Dazed, obviously, at the start. When you think about all that, it becomes really kind of murky waters to kind of, figure out what's going to happen. Obviously, Cloud9 is the favorite to win the tournament. I don't think any team in the tournament should give them any trouble. They should be easily getting the $14,000, an easy payday for this team. But as far as who can take second place, who can make it to the grand finals, you have to look at the bottom end of the bracket for that. And I think a team like Gale Force actually has a decent chance to ride it out to the finals. But we'll have to see how good that Counter Logic Gaming mixed team is. And obviously GX has some famous names on it.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of question marks. But obviously, starting things off, Splyce versus Gale Force. This is going to be what we were saying before the match. Actually, 2 of the most solidified rosters we have. Teams that haven't made changes in the last 24 hours, like some of these other rosters have at the very least. But we've got the bans and the picks in for this best of 3 series. It's going to be a big one. So we'll have a look at those. It's going to be Cash, the first pick for Gale Force. And the first pick for Splyce is going to be Nuke, with the third map being Inferno. This is interesting. What do you make of this?
I'm actually really surprised that Gale Force let Nuke through. That's their least played map. They're 1-2 on it online, so it's not a very good map for them. Meanwhile, Nuke is probably one of Splyce's best maps. They were probably licking their chops when they saw that Gale Force banned Train and allowed Nuke to stay around. Nuke is probably actually their best map. They're one of the few North American teams that actually actively play it, and they have a pretty good record. And so, yeah, the fact that they were able to pick Nuke, I think, definitely locks them up that map. They should have no problems winning that. A pick for Gale Force on Cash, that is probably one of their better maps online. It's kind of iffy map for Splyce. And then our third map is going to be Inferno, which, to be honest, both teams have kind of had their struggles with an online play. So that's going to be kind of a common ground, but for the wrong reason, right? Neither team very strong on that map.
Well, that just makes it all the more interesting, I guess. So now that we have the map vetoes, we actually have the rosters of the teams, which is nice. What's your prediction? Where are you leaning on this? We'll start with the first map. Where are you leaning on, Cash?
Here's the thing. I mean, these 2 teams have faced off a couple of times in recent memory. They did play each other in the IEM Oakland qualifiers, where Gale Force beat Splyce 16-4 on Train, which is another reason why it's so weird that Gale Force banned Train, because they've proven the ability to beat Splyce in a very one-sided fashion on that map. And then Cash is a map that they did play against each other as well. Very one-sided victory that was for Gale Force once more against Splyce. That was in the America's Minor qualifier, where they beat them 16-4 on Cash. So no surprise that they would want to play that map, as you do see it as their pick. And Splyce did get a victory on them way earlier this year, like 8 months ago or something like that in the ESL1 Cologne qualifiers, but it was only in overtime that they got that victory. So when you think about head-to-head, Gale Force has actually gotten the better results against Splyce, but they've only played each other 3 times this year in best of 1, so maybe not too much to draw from, but I don't know. I think with the maps the way that they are, I think we're definitely going to see a third. Because I think that Splyce is just confidently going to win Nuke. So I think we could definitely see a third map Inferno. But I guess there's a chance that Splyce can maybe pull an upset on Cash. They could 2-0 the series. But I can't see Gale Force winning Nuke. So it has to go to 3 maps if Gale Force will win.
Yeah, I see that being likely 3 maps for a close series again for 2 close teams. We've got a lot of mismatched lineups and mismatched quarterfinals, I guess you could say, in this bracket as well. And that's not due to seeding, that's more due to the level of teams being very different. We've got Talk, who I think are going to come into this one and maybe surprise a little bit. I hope they can surprise, maybe get a map off Cloud9. I don't see them winning that series, as you said. Cloud9 should just be sweeping their way through this event. But GX are actually the team that I'm looking for, because when you look at this lineup of teams, Cloud9, Talked, Ghost Source, Splyce, Gale Force, CLG, GX. You think, who's the second best team there? Now, usually you would say CLG, but obviously they're undergoing some changes right now, not only being dropped by the org, but playing with a mix right now with 2 different players. So that's a huge, problem to take. GX, a team that struggled with days, started to look better towards the latter stages of MDL with Whitmer, who was performing on that AWP, which I think is going to be a big interest coming into this event as well, seeing how they can play against top tier opposition in the NA scene like Cloud9 and like CLG should be. So I would definitely say that there's teams like GX who could easily make it to the grand finals. I think they could take down CLG in a best of 3, and then winner is Splyce Gale Force. Honestly, with so many question marks over that matchup, hey, we could be seeing a GX Cloud9 final of this bracket.
It's certainly possible. I mean, I do begin to question like Whitmer's in-game leadership ability. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience doing that. He's kind of just done it for this team. So I do wonder if that is going to be a huge limitation for them if they do make a deep run in this tournament, or even to get past a team like, the core 3 of CLG, where Cutler, I would imagine he's probably going to be doing some in-game leading now that Finesse is gone, and he's done it in the past. He has a bit more experience with it. They do have some talent on that team that they've brought in. So I think that Unemployed could give them a pretty good run. I think that'll be a decent hurdle for them. They have proven, though, to be able to, they did beat Gale Force in the Mountain Dew League playoffs and in the online portion of that. So it's not as if GX are any slouches on that bottom side of the bracket. Could be for an interesting rematch if both Gale Force and GX make it through to the semifinals tomorrow. And another best of 3 online. So yeah, that definitely some names to keep an eye on. But again, I think it's like Cloud9 way up here, everyone else, huge gap between them, right? So I think that's kind of the unfortunate truth.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. But we're about to go live in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere. We'll be having the games just in front of your screens in a second. So one more question I want to have, Dust, as someone who doesn't regularly follow the NA scene maybe as much as you do, being local. What do you make of Saw coming into this event? What are your thoughts, if you have any, on that team? How do you think they're going to do? Their first matchup against Ghost, of course, in the top side of the bracket.
Well, with Ghost having, the roster changes going on for themselves, obviously they dumped Rix, and Rix is now playing for the Unemployed team. And then they recently got Horvey, I think, to stand in for B. So that was something that just happened like either yesterday or earlier today. So with that in mind, I think that certainly opens up for a lot, especially since they're a team that back when they were called, I think it was Broken Alliance was their team name. They actually like upset a couple of teams in the North American region, like in the E-League Premier qualifiers and one other online tournament where they were actually getting some map victories against some of the pro teams. So they seem to be a team that could be on the rise. I'm pretty sure they made it to the global finals of Mountain Dew League this season. They were one of the top 3 teams out of the online portion of the playoffs. So they seem to be a team that could be on the up and up. I know a player like Grim, as a young player, has even attracted the attention of some professional teams who were actually like trying him out and stuff like that. So definitely could be, a team of youth that could be the future of NA. You never know.
Yeah, that being said, they're on the same side of the bracket as Cloud9, so as far as they should be able to get is the semifinals, right? At least we look in theory, and that's, again, taking down Ghost, who, of course, never a solid roster. We look at Ghost, a team that is able to field 10 men to a roster and play 2 officials at the same time. I think I look back all the way to, it was an ECS promotion match up against Complexity, a best of 5 that they won 3-0, while also playing an ESL Pro League match at the same time, and they fielded enough players for 2 rosters just off of their signed up players to the rosters. And I think they won So they were playing against Immortals in the EPL match, because I always reference this, and they went 1-1 with them, and then they played Complexity and they 3-0'd them with like a complete mixed roster, which is hilarious. Obviously, this is a bit of a different Complexity back a few months ago, but yeah, Ghost able to put up a bigger roster as Holvi has now joined the ranks, and even if Saw can overtake them, I imagine Cloud9 are gonna throw a shred of reality their face in the next round.
Absolutely. And again, folks, be sure to get in on that prediction contest. You can still do it. It's over at cyberpowerpc.cevo.com/predict. It allows you to get into some cool prizes. We're also doing our standard giveaway as well, which you can see down below. Huge shout out to all of our sponsors, of course, Best Buy, Intel, Western Digital, NVIDIA, and MSI, all of them providing some cool pieces of hardware and stuff that you can get your hands on. It doesn't really take a lot of effort to do it. Just got to follow the link, click a couple of things, predict the game, and you'll get in on those giveaways. There you go.
Very fun stuff. Okay.
Get a cheeky free Christmas present, maybe.
Is that from you especially? Just personal?
Yeah, just give it to me is the thing. If you win, mail it to me. Christmas present, would appreciate it. There you go.
You're more than welcome to go give a random person your address on the internet, Dust. I have not joined you on that.
Now that I've thought it through a little bit more, it's actually a good point. Probably
Bad
shouldn't.
idea. But we're about to get into this match, Dust. So I want your MVPs, your predictions on best player for each team. Give me yours for Splyce. Who do you think? Who's taking the MVP trophy this month?
I have no idea. From Splyce, to be honest, I'm not really sure. Like, they all perform about the same. I think Mitch has like always been a guy who's been really strong in these online tournaments, so I would maybe throw it to him a little bit. I think Davey used to be like probably one of their best players, but with him having the in-game lead now, I think that's kind of made it a little bit harder for him to perform as well as he used to. So I would think it'd be like maybe someone like Mitch, maybe Jerome could go off as an entry guy. Those would be some of the guys to maybe look out at.
Full roster at this point. You're just leaving Roker and Sempus alone.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. And then for Gale Force, I think it's definitely Johnny Boy. He seems to be the guy that always puts up the numbers for them. I think sometimes like Marky and Gusoro are able to do pretty well as well, but I would go with Johnny Boy.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Well, we should be in just a second. As Dust said just a minute prior, be sure to check out those giveaways on cyberpowerpc.cevo.com/giveaway. And of course, the predictions on the same link /predictions. There's cool stuff to be won. A GTX 1050 Ti gaming graphics card. Sorry, that's a nice bit of gear there, and some cool headsets and SSDs as well. So
SSDs are always nice.
Yeah, Dust is for sure rigging that behind the scenes, trying to get himself some new Christmas gear, upgrade his rig right before Christmas, and I don't blame him.
Indeed. I'm just happy that I'm not working at Best Buy right now. I used to work for Best Buy for many years, but after Black Friday, man, it's rough. Be nice to your Best Buy employees if you're out shopping. Don't give them a hard time.
Well, luckily Black Friday is gone, so
yeah, it's still a nightmare for the whole holiday season, though. It really is. Working retail during the holidays is literally the worst thing that you could ever do in life.
I've been there. I've been there in the UK.
Oh yeah,
not quite Best Buy. We don't have that, but yeah, no, I've been there. It's never fun. But shout out to Best Buy because they are one of the sponsors of this event. So alongside Intel, WD, NVIDIA, and MSI. A big list of lovely people that make this event possible, and obviously give us some prize money to throw out to these teams. But we're here, we're ready, we're jumping into it. Splyce versus Gale Force. Map number 1 going to be DE Cash, heading over to Nuke as a second, and if needed, which is very possible given the way that this matchup is going, we might be going to Inferno as a third. We're right into the pistol round though, Dust. We're going to have Splyce starting things off on the CT side, Gale Force on the T side.
Indeed, we are, as we do see Gale Force picking up 3 smoke grenades and 2 Molotovs, so definitely a lot of utility for a pistol round. Not a lot of people, only 2 players got armor, so this is a very heavy utility pistol round. It's not something you see very often. I'm kind of curious what they're looking to do. We see some mid boosting going on. Definitely some type of set piece in mind, but this aggression at B could absolutely disrupt this as Symphis is able to find first blood.
Oh, nice aggression, but it will get traded. Roker goes down there, but the trade eventually comes back into the hand of Splyce. So, man advantage up, bomb still under control. Mitch goes one step further. A second kill comes out from the man himself, and even Sempis. He'll catch Marky trying to rotate back in after a pick on mid. This round has fallen apart for Gale Force. Seemed like they may have had a setup in their hands, but it's not gone anywhere.
Exactly. It's one of those things where they really needed their execute to unfold to have a good chance to win this round, with only 2 people having armor out of the 5 and a lot of focus on utility. They didn't get to use any of it, right? I mean, we do have Tuden here that has a couple of flashes, but again, he's on Glock, no armor. The bomb's down in a terrible location. He's up against 3. Shouldn't really have any business winning this, but okay. Had a nice little one-tap there, but the crossfire from Jonah and Simphis a bit too much to break through, and Splyce will take the first round.
Yeah, nice pistol on the board, but we imagine the Force will be coming in for Gale Force themselves, as no bomb went down in the previous. Yeah, terrible joke. So pistols and armor coming up into the second round. Splyce, on the other hand, SMGs, a couple of rifles and a scout, what you would expect. Although MP7, this has been a gun that's had a lot more usage recently than it has in the past. This is an interesting decision. We see Simple using this a hell of a lot, and Gale Force, they've got to contend with it now as they set up fast towards B. Presence shown by Marky early, but he gets dropped by the scout of Mitch, and that'll slow down Gale Force a lot.
Yeah, Ro8 trying to get aggressive with that SMG, trying to see if he can't farm some dollars. But of course, you got to be careful against those Deagles. They can be very dangerous. As Ro8 kind of puts himself way out in open space, luckily able still to find the frag and to get away without being traded as he frantically swipes his mouse around, trying to get the hell out of there. Taking a lot of damage, and Tommy's found the 1 Deag as well, so this round gets a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, Theo broke a low. It's only 1 bullet needed, but he will be there quickly. And B7 out into the head of Tommy. Now going to be needed to trade, and it will come through. Johnny Boy fully flashed. Gets the frag onto Ro8, maybe a bit too aggressive for his good. Now puts this round in an uncomfortable space for Splyce. Yes, they should be able to pick it up, but Johnny Boy may be able to get a plant.
Oh,
at least
definitely.
Run them close. No one's even close to the A bomb site, and he's already started his just a bombardment towards the site. Sempis, he'll begin his rotation through the spawn, but I don't think he'll be able to stop him. With Johnny Boy coming in through CT, even that car position won't be able to catch across. Noise going to be made, though. Johnny Boy onto the site, and Sempis, he'll just rush his plant for sure. There's no way he wants to allow Johnny Boy to get it down. So Splyce, they find the 2-0, but not as clean as they would have liked.
Yeah, I think he shouldn't have gone door. I think he should have just ran A and main. That's probably his best chance to get to the A-bomb site faster before they can rotate back. Him going through door just gives that extra few seconds. Also gives the noise cue away that he's definitely there. So I think a little bit of a mistake. I think he could have gotten a bomb plan if he would have ran A main, but again, couldn't expect too much in that round, as we do see what is going to be essentially a full save from this team now. P215 to Deagle out, but everyone else is just Glocks, no armor, no utility. Should be a mop-up for Splyce.
Like to think, but it's very common we see these rounds go array. We'll see. Is it slow for Gale Force, of course, held out by the utility of Splyce? They'll just be sitting in mid for the time being with a couple of upgraded pistols. Splyce not showing too much aggression. They've taken deep aim, control on the hand of Navy. He's got two aggressors to play with, but they're making it very clear. They've thrown in the smoke. He's spamming on through it as well. Gale Force know what's up. They're not going to be given any easy way into a bomb site just yet. They look to exploit middle, but it's actually going to be the frag coming down on A, where Mitch will take down Tommy to start things off. Ro8 in the meantime pushed off on B. Oh, sorry, Mitch is actually down on B as well. So they are just baiting with that smoke play and with Ro8 up in the corner. And yeah, this is just a round that Gale Force are going to play default and get picked one by one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Splyce would like to farm some cash with this SMG on Mitch. That's why he's being so aggressive. They'd love to get that extra cash, but he's actually going to go down in a couple of kills here for Gusharo. That's going to open up the B bomb site a little bit. They actually could get a bomb plan out of this, which would be incredible, given that they didn't have much to work with, and they even have an M4 and SMG in their hands now. The no armor is going to hurt them, but there's a small window where they could win this round, actually.
Especially when Davy's just playing pistols. We say these rounds are very dangerous because people always play overconfident, and Splyce certainly have, now into a very uncomfortable spot. No kit and no utility. They need to make a play, but Tuten shuts down the bench. It's drone on the site to find one, but it's still up to one more player. Gishoro holding the outside of B, dropped by Semphis. So just in the nick of time, Splyce will pull it back. But as you said it yourself, Dust, that got awfully close. Yeah,
certainly, and it's still costly for Splyce, right? They have to rebuy 3 players. Gale Force got a bomb plant, so they'll have even more money. On the back of the full save they just took, they'll be able to have a really good buy. They could get an op, they can get plenty of utility. All their options are open to them, so definitely still a small victory despite the fact they lost the round. As I'm still waiting to see if they're going to go for an op. They do. Gashiro is going to buy it. He's going to pass it over to Johnny Boy, the typical opper for this team, and definitely on the T side for Gale Force, you're going to be looking at guys like Johnny Boy and Marky to be trying to create the most action. There's some of the more aggressive players on this team, whereas a guy like Tommy is usually a bit more supportive. You usually see kind of like Tuten kind of being a little bit more of like a peripheral player. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that, as it looks like they are going to be fighting for some mid control here early.
Yeah, and Splyce, maybe some B control as well. We've already seen this both rounds in the previous Anticos, and it may come in again. Ro8 throws in the deep smoke, but Gale Force still take mid control, and with no CTs here looking to defend, there may be a Vents boost. Of course, that'd be a good way to regain control after that Molotov. Ro8 does jump up, so this is good now for Splyce. Gale Force are going to expect this position to be empty, at least for the time being. And with support coming out towards the highway from Drone, or at least it was, this could have been a good fight onto middle for Splyce. But instead, he backs off, plays passive towards the car, and the pressure is going to be Ro8 hitting this shot. He does. One kill comes through. Maybe is all he needs as he drops on back, or at least should drop on back. They can chase him here. Smoke comes down in the meantime, so he'll stay alive, but only for a second as he drops on back into the vents. It's going to be Mitch also picking up a kill with the AWP, and Gale Force, they still want to hit this site, but look at the amount of CTs we've got here. 4 players from the Splyce side, and it's more than enough. Mitch is more than enough as he finds another frag. There's 2 up for Gale Force. What has happened this round to Gale Force?
Yeah, just not really good from Gale Force on making sure that they actually got something out of their mid control. I mean, yeah, they get out mid, but they're not able to really clear out vents and to be able to set it up for a B split because Rogue was playing it aggressively. That's why you often see teams commit a Molotov inside vents just to make sure that doesn't happen. Make sure they chase an ECT out, force them back into checkers, open up that space for themselves to have, you know, like a guaranteed way at least into checkers to try to split B. But none of that really happened. Roka just kind of disrupts it. They get picked out all across the map at B lobby as well. So just, you know, great you got bit control. They didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, not really given any opportunities for picks, I think was the first issue, but Gale Force, definitely other ways they could have played that round. Now they've got Deagles, however, no armor, and only a single flashbang on Johnny Boy as well, just to burst him into the site. The last time we saw an eco, they just held strong and let Splyce kind of play their game with it, but they still got Glocks, and that was with mainly Glocks as well. Now imagine they can put up with just Deagles. Splyce have to be very careful they don't overstep their mark this round. They've already taken aggressive control. David's back as he pushes into main. Splyce, aggressive as always. Sempus is even pushed down towards the bottom of main as well. They want to bring the heat into the face of Gale Force this round. Yep. If we look at that rotation, it could be dangerous.
Yeah, I think that casually lends itself to aggressive CT play. I think it's one of the safest maps to be aggressive on CT because it's just so easy to pop flash A main and B lobby and at least get that initial forward footing. And obviously, Splyce knows that Gale Force isn't going to have any armor on this round. They're going to be low econ, so it even takes away that risk of having to deal with like a really stout, you know, firepower to hold you back from pushing through. So I'm just kind of looking to get this round done with as quickly as possible. Splyce.
Yeah. No deagle shots landing today for Gale Force, it seems, or only tags. No headshots as Splyce look to take this one flawlessly once again. Tommy holds the outside of B, but good luck. The Splyce, they are bringing in the heat. They're bringing a lot of aggression. I want to see if they're going to continue to do this into every buy round, or if it's just these early anti-ecos and early low buys, like just trying to establish themselves in this game, trying to maybe get into the heads of Gale Force before they get rifles in their hands. Because once the money starts to build up for Gale Force, once we see more AWPing, more utility, they can just hold passive. They can let Splyce do their thing, get aggressive, and then, you know, either commit to a site where there isn't much defense, or they can, you know, go and find opening kills because Splyce is playing too aggressive and into the hands of these teams.
That's very true. Looks like we're going to see Splyce kind of try to put that forward presence on middle this time around. Roku can be inside vent so he can help mid in like a 3 mid setup, but of course he's still there if Mitch needs any type of support. Ooh. Having vents as a CT is so important, but Drone has been caught. Let's kind of talk about your comments. That is the aggression being picked up by Gale Force, giving them an early man advantage here. They have a lot of time to kind of think about how they want to use that advantage as well.
Yeah, minute 20 on the clock, no rush. They will look to go towards mid, an area that was previously held quite heavily for Splyce, now diminished to 2 players, one of them being in the vents as well. We've got Sempis close on the highway, so while he's still committed to A, he can easily jump into mid with that second AWP and get something going. We'll see. As Gale Force, they hit heavy. Smokes are down this time. There's no one from the vents able to stop them as Roka's smoke will fall back. Better than a molly because it lasts for longer, but Sempis has to be careful. He's sat very exposed to the highway box. He'll go down to Marky. Not clearing that close position, not having the support from vents is a dangerous way to play, as now it's going to be the A commitment from Gale Force looking to split onto the site. 3 players left up for the CT side, although the bomb has actually redecided. It's gone back through spawn, so Splyce have been baited. They've completely rotated over, and it's actually B.
Yeah, indeed, Johnny Boy's will be bringing that bomb through lobby into the B bomb site any moment now, and Splyce will now see that they are way out of position. They read this wrong. That was actually a smoke from Roka inside the vents. He used it to extinguish a Molotov, and it actually slowed Gale Force down from being able to do a B split, which I think was the original intention, but they were able to kind of still just, you know, adapt and get a pickup highway on the Symphis, you know, maintain man advantage, put pressure on A, force a rotation on a Splyce, so they still were able to kind of roll up the punches, despite the fact they didn't really get Vince the way that they wanted to, and they still wind up with the round. So it will be the first point on the board. And again, it can kind of show you how misleading a 5-0 start can be to a game. Obviously, if you're losing pistol, losing opening gun round, 5-0 is very common. But now that Gale Force have their economy back in order, they can start grinding, hopefully, and they do put their first point on the board.
Yeah, again, this is their map pick, right? This is the one they should be prepared on the T side. So as you say, early start for Splyce is good, but how far will it go long term? Because this is where we expect Gale Force to be a lot more, you know, calculated and a lot more prepared. This is exactly where they can show it as well. So round on the board, Splyce still with cash, so they can rebuy for sure. This can come in for a reset hard onto Gale Force's economy, but with a bit of money left up for these Ts, they could actually rebuy even with a loss here. You know, 1,400 will be enough to get a good bank on players like Johnny Boy, players like Marky that already have money. But we'll see anyway, because Splyce, they may not get the reset. Mitch is on the AWP. We don't have Sempus joining him this time. Didn't work out earlier, to say the very least. And
that's actually kind of interesting because Sempus is, I've always thought of him as the main op for this team. I haven't seen them play a lot recently, though, so this could have been maybe a bit of a role swap they've made in recent times. Maybe someone that watches him a little bit more regularly can comment on that to me on Twitter or something. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that Mitch has it full time.
Yeah, it may be to do with the whole IGL role as well, being something to take into account. You know, Sempus, once on that, no longer. Gale Force are actually a man down this round. Rocky's dead already, so they're going to set their sights towards A with a bomb, but with 2 inside of B, and Gishoro also deep in the checkers, they could easily make something work off this, but it's a big risk. Well, they have him deep behind enemy lines, keep him here and try and hold Splyce in position.
Yeah, at least it puts pressure on them, and it does give them a little bit of map control to work with to try to split B a couple of different directions. Smoke goes up on B lobby, though, so it's going to stop them from being able to kind of play off of each other. They're all going to have to funnel through checkers now.
Yeah, with this position, instead of using him as bait, they use him as an entry, but he gets entry. There's a quick flick from the AWP, shuts him down. Mitch, a nice shot, but he's got more to do as Tommy still sits to the left side of the checkers, and Gale Force sending their 6th player up into middle. It's going to be Tootin as Johnny Boy. Another entry up on B. Tommy dead in the meantime, and Tootin looks to wrap all the way around, but he doesn't check his back lines, and that's where Davey is, coming up the back of his car position, and Drone cleaning up. Splyce, one thing I've got to know, they've had good rotations. They seemingly are usually in the right bomb site, aside from that one round that Gale Force picked up.
Yeah, they're pretty quick to rotate, I think, is what it is. I think, like, as soon as they feel some pressure, they're pretty quick to rotate an extra player, which Gale Force maybe could use a little bit later on once they get guns back to maybe throw some type of fake in and catch them rotating a little bit too much. I think it's also good that Splyce has been able to kind of have a good mix of being able to play aggressive and suffocate Gale Force and not allow them to get an execute rolling. But then when Gale Force has done well to get map control, they're able to just kind of sit back and get the kills like you saw that round. Even though Gale Force got checkers, and they looked like they had some dangerous positioning towards B, still able to kind of sit in the site and just stop them from being able to break through. But we do have Gale Force with an entry at A this time, and it's all Symphis alone for now.
Now, reset came on for Splyce, but maybe it will come on for Gale Force as well, as well, only Tootin's on a Caesar 75. Everyone else is fairly well equipped. The smoke goes down for the cross, and this means Sempus, he has to go big. He has no support from that car now, as we have had the rotation from Drone. This line, he's up 2, but he only gets 1 for his troubles. Tommy quick with the trade, and Drone's rotated in as well. He's moved close up to the fork. He has to get a kill on quick. He does. Johnny Boy dead, AWP down, and bomb planted as well, as Splyce retain the man advantage thanks to Roka getting a frag, and the backside player being forced out by the Molotov. Good utility usage from Splyce. They forced out all these players into the open, and that's just Tommy. A 1v3 needs to go fast because there are already players in the site, but Drone's there, and he'll save the day for Splyce. It's going to be 7 rounds up for the CT side. Even with a bomb plant, Gale Force's money is not going to be in the best spot right now. They've got to throw in an eco.
Yeah, really great retake there from Splyce. Particularly got to give a lot of credit to Drone because he got that kill on the A main player from Forklift. It meant that everyone that Gale Force had left in post plant was all stuck inside the site, and Splyce had plenty of incendiaries and flashes to, you know, flush them out of position, make it very hard for them to hold in the post plant. And so Splyce are going to make it 7-1. So very good lead here on the pick of Gale Force. And remember, this next map is Nuke, a map that Gale Force are not known for at all, yet Splyce very comfortable playing it. So Splyce could be setting themselves up for a 2-0 here if they keep this going on cash. Gale Force onto a very low buy here with just CCs, but they can swarm up close with these, so you got to be careful.
Oh, Semphis, he's not careful. He goes back through the smoke only to his death. It's Davey to step up with the MP9, and that he does as well. 2 kills. Jumps back into main and makes it a triple. Clean round from Splyce. Only Semphis dead, and that was after he found 2. So, 8-1 up. I mean, you can keep saying, oh, we've only seen a few buy rounds from Gale Force, but at some point it gets, you know, like a broken record. It gets worrying. What's happening? This is a really dominant scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, Splyce has definitely just been really out-fragging Gale Force across the board is one of the simplest ways to put it. Again, they're doing a great job of being aggressive at times, but at other times sitting back and just stopping them from breaking through sight. So I think that Splyce has kind of played, you know, a good full spectrum of CS here defensively, and Gale Force is really haven't been able to get anything rolling. I think obviously getting reset certainly hurt. Their economy has been a problem because of that. But they're going to be going for some type of execute here on B, and Mitch gets flashed and tries to stick around anyway and gets caught for that decision.
Committed to the angle a little too much, some would say. It's going to leave Ro8 alone in the back of Checkers. His teammate dead on the site. And while the bomb's still on A, maybe Gale Force reconsidering. They want to hit the side of the map, but they're not going to rotate. With Ro8 showing his face and Davey already on the rotation, the bomb makes its way out squeaky. Gale Force, they really have baited Splyce into this. And this is good. They're just playing off the back of the fact that they know Splyce heavily rotate. So they get, what, an entry onto B, and suddenly everyone leaves that A site. Gale Force take A for free, and now Semphis, he might not even know this side of the map where the bomb is.
Much better play this time from Gale Force, just kind of catching a player out of position and then just kind of rolling that momentum over, finding a couple more key kills, getting the bomb down over at the A bomb site, and they will get their second round on the board. Again, though, they need to be careful about having their economy reset again, because they're still going to have to rebuy a player here. It's going to be Gusharo, and they're obviously buying a lot of utility back as well, so the money's going to come down to like mid 1K range and lower, except for Marky, who's sitting just under 4, so he has a good bit of money, but no one else does, so getting reset again would be pretty devastating. This is a big round for Gale Force. If they want to, you know, make a comeback in this half, they really need this round to work out.
Yeah, they've been reset once before, they can't afford it again. Boost quickly up into vents once more for Splyce, but it's back to basics for Gale Force. The same setup from the previous round. 3 outside B, bomb outside A. Mitch even smokes the same molly. This time he has to be careful not to get flashed out and not to commit to the angle if he does. Nades rain in. Gale Force, will they be able to bait these 2 Splyce players off the A bomb site? That's my biggest question. Or actually make it 3. There's 3 at the site. That highway player coming up, that's Semphis. And now Gale Force, they attempt the bait. The reason they're playing slow is because they're just trying to draw rotations. They're not trying to show their hand that they don't have the bomb just yet. And while it's drawn everyone off of the site apart from him, he's at the boost, so he may be committed to this angle. This could be really good, and that kill will make it better. Drone first frag of the round. It's Marky quick to trade. There's 2 players in the checkers here. Splyce have a lot of presence, and finally we see Gale Force hit the A site. Davey dead from the boost, and everyone else bursting out too, but Semphis is still defending. And with the bombs down for Gale Force, Splyce, at least this time, they remained in the A site.
Yeah, 2-on-2 now as Mitch is trying to rotate through with an AWP from Chuck. He's got Johnny Boy pinned down over at Forklift, and there is a flank coming in, I believe, from Roka and Squeaky Door. I'm not sure if the door's open or not, though, and that could actually be a big factor if he has to open it himself. It is already opened. Okay, able to come out, get Johnny Boy. Good communication on this retake here. Now it's a 2-on-1, and Roka will just clear it out by his lonesome. So really well done for Splyce. That round looked like it was going to be tough. I mean, Gale Force, I think, threw a pretty good fake on B. I think they've been reading that Splyce are rotating fast, so they put a lot of pressure on B. They just left Davey over there at A on boost, and he actually got caught. He didn't get a single frag from the boosted position, so when you see that playing out, you think, okay, like this is looking pretty good for Gale Force, but it still winds up coming into a 2-on-2, and Splyce take it very clean in that retake, and they have reset Gale Force. They're up 9-2 and a great chance to find 10, and there's just not a whole lot to work with for Gale Force in this round.
Yeah, very impressive stuff, but now we go back to basics for the Gale Force guys as they run on the angle. So Semphis quick to bend from the forklift with 2 frags, spray control, and runs out of ammo, but luckily Davey's there to save the day with 2 for himself. He also runs out of ammo, but he does clear it up with the USP. Upgrades that as well. Now
All right,
Splyce,
Davey.
they are 10-2 up. A lot of BM here, but Splyce are winning their opponent's map pick dust.
Yeah, again, I mean, just to kind of remind people, Gale Force have had their way with Splyce the last couple of times they've met up in best of ones. I mean, one of them was the America's Minor qualifier. I think the other was like IAM Oakland qualifier. Both times it was Gale Force winning 16-4. One of those games I think was on Train. The other was on this map, actually, Cash. So, I mean, this is big for Splyce to kind of prove that, hey, like, we can beat this team. You know, because Splyce had certainly had some tougher times.
Ooh, nice shot from Davey. Again, we talk about the aggression of Splyce. Starting off quickly, it's going to be the AWP shot in through the squeaky door. Newton, he'll go down straight away. So Splyce now sitting pretty, as always. They're not happy with one shot. Semfis wants himself a second. He goes aggressive for it. May even catch a third. As Johnny Boy,
no.
He continues to peek back into the M4. And what's this? Splyce have done nothing but push, and Gale Force still can't catch him off.
There's no way Semfis should have even gotten one frag there, and he gets two. So that is... That kind of sums up this whole half, really. Splyce have, more often than not, been able to get away with gimmicky stuff like that. I think Gale Force only punished their aggression maybe once this entire game. And then that was just sloppy. Like, Johnny Boy should be trading that, no problem. No way Semfis should get a second kill.
Well, as soon as Johnny Boy's forced out the angle, he's got to repeat back in, which is so hard to do quickly with the AWP, right? Even with Peeker's advantage online, Johnny Boy was slow peeking that with an AWP. That's never going to work. You're never going to win that fight up against a guy holding down with a rifle. So
yeah, and unfortunately, he himself didn't have a rifle. So even though Semfis had low HP, there, it didn't really matter. He still had an AWP. At the end of the day, you still have to hit that one shot. So yeah, Splyce just continuing to have a solid half going for themselves. Up 11-2, and again, Gale Force, this economy has been a constant problem. They've been reset twice this half. And again, you're seeing the repercussions of that going into this with just, you know, some CZs and UMP and a Gale. Very limited utility as well. Looks like they want to just bunch up and try to plow into B, but there's 3 players in checkers for Splyce.
Yeah. They may be angsty on the rotations, but they certainly got the stack right for Splyce. Will it work out, though? They've already burned down Roker a little bit. Line up for the AWP, connects not even a single shot, but still, the surprise has not been shown. There's 3 players here. Roker just runs through the smoke. Classic. He mows down 3 players. And that's it. Splyce, they take it. 12-2. A dominant round for a dominant game.
I think that was just kind of a little bit of luck involved for Splyce. I think that they had 3 at B, but I think it was because they were trying to boost a couple of players in vents for mid control. And it just so happened that as they were trying to do that, they noticed Gale Force throwing a lot of utility into B. So they're like, oh, well, I guess we're just going to sit here in checkers together and just fight it out. They had like 4 players on B by the time Gale Force got to main.
They just had a surprise setup, right? They had like 3 guys sitting in checkers. And who the hell expects 3 in checkers?
No, yeah, exactly.
If you full molly setup checkers and you have 3 players running out, that's 3 picks for Gale Force. So
yeah, they would have did like the whole nip ring of fire on checkers. Yeah. They would have cooked 3 players and had an easy time winning the round, but didn't happen for them. 12-2 for Splyce. Last chance corral for Gale Force. See if they can get another round here on their second half T side. A little bit of a trade going on in B lobby, but Splyce will get the better of it thanks to Davies AWP.
Semfis, not on the AWP, instead it's Davey. So you mentioned your confusion at that earlier, but it's Mitch and Davey now AWPing. Apparently everyone can do it on Splyce, but I think with a 12-2 scoreline, it makes a lot of sense. Tootin forced back by the Molotov, and he's already on 2 HP, so careful. And what's this push from Semfis? This man is crazy today. He just walks inside of A main dry. No flashbang for help, no teammate to bail him out, and he will die, but I'm still worried. Ro8 finds the lineup. There's 1, almost 2, but Marky's quick on the trigger. Still only a deagle to play with on Tommy, but he'll upgrade that as Marky. He doubles down. Davey, now the last man up, has to retake for the final round of the half, but it's not exactly a difficult one, especially not with the HP being low of a couple of these players. He can do damage, maybe switch over to a pistol or a rifle, but instead he walks in with the AWP. That nade may seal the deal for Marky, and it does. He's dead. So CZ out. It's a 1v1, and while he doesn't know where Tommy is, there's not many positions left with a safe plant that's down. Tommy spots the cross, and Davey now knows exactly where he is. Pushes in. There's
oh my god.
And there's the half. Splyce, they'll take it 13-2.
Again, it's one of those rounds where the Splyce shouldn't be winning, right? I mean, Semfis literally kind of threw away the round by pushing a main like that. Not only because he gave away a main advantage, but because he left the 2 people retaking are the 2 oppers, right? That's a nightmare scenario to be in, yet somehow Davey still pulls off the 1v2 retake. He played it really intelligent. He uses utility really well to get like a free kill with a grenade. use the incendiary really well to flush that player out in the 1v1. So I don't know. I think a lot of that, though, was probably Splyce just playing with overconfidence because they're so far ahead. Like, I don't think Symphosis would have normally just pushed A main like that. And in 3-on-3 to potentially give up the round in maybe a closer score scenario. But then again, it is Symphosis, so I actually don't know. Like, he can be a very aggressive player, in general. So I don't know. I think there was some of the sloppiness you saw from Splyce. I'm pretty sure was just because they were so far ahead that they were just like feeling confident enough to do stuff that they maybe normally wouldn't in a closer game.
There's no justification to make that kind of push. When your
maybe with a pop flash
site,
or something, it would have made sense.
Ro8
but
was on site with a flash, or was it Ro8? One of them, I think it was Ro8 on site with a flashbang that he used after Symphosis died. Like, he had a flashbang. He just didn't communicate. And I don't, again, 13-2, I really don't blame the guy. You know, just go for it, why not? But in a close match, I would say pop flashback, or just don't go for the push. But the push comes out this round, and it's Splyce on the T side. Heavy into middle. Hold down for Marky, but Symphosis is there to trade.
Oh my.
He'll do so again. This man's aggression has no bounds, as he'll just bound his way into the B site. There's a player behind him in the CT spawn, but the bomb's already crossed past. And Splyce, they have the site. It's only Gushoro who's got to be close, and he may be able to strike one frag. Now Mitch knows where he is, so he's got to be careful on that spot. It'll still come through, and Symphosis defending again. 3 frags. It's now the retake up for Gale Force, and Tommy looking to come into Vetch. If Symphosis can land 4, he could make this round, but it's now down to Mitch on the site. A dink into Tooten, but Tommy's coming in as well, so he's got a lot to do here. And they have a kit, so they're not in a huge rush. They've got time to play with. First player spotted, second player baited, but there's a double peek from Gale Force, and they'll find themselves 3, keeping themselves in this game, at least for the time being.
Indeed, they do. That almost looked like Symphosis was just going to win the round by himself, just YOLO style. I mean, he literally just ran up mid, got a kill, ran into CT spawn, got a kill. He's up in heaven, he's clearing B by himself to make sure that's open for the bomb plant.
Like a pug.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just kind of fell apart, though, because he did eventually get caught over in checkers. And then, you know, we do see Mitch stuck in a 1 versus 2. Actually did have one player really low on HP, but I think Gale Force just did well. They kind of peeked together and not let Mitch really, like, leverage that health advantage as much as he could have if they would have peeked them 1 by 1.
The alternative is they split up on the different parts of the site, right? And go round in from 2 angles, and that's so easy if one player's low to just get tapped and then just get flicked on and finish off the second.
Absolutely. So that does get them a point on the board here early in the second half. Maybe give them some type of chance to rummage a comeback together. But Splyce is buying very aggressively in this round. Like, you see 2 Galeals and an AK already because of the way they spent money in pistol and because they just want to get this thing over with as quickly as possible.
Yeah, stop Gale Force from building up the money while they can on that city side. Don't give them a second chance into this map. You know this is their map pick. You've got to play safe even with a 13-3 lead. That pistol can change everything. We've seen it happen so many times.
Did Splyce no armor everyone on the first round?
No, they bought armor, but they just they've got way more out of this than I expected, and I don't know how, but guns have been dropped over, and we've got 2 unarmored players, both Davey and Sempis, so they dropped over the Galeals, and we had an AK brought up, I imagine, from Sempis, because he got that, and yeah, he did. It's being used as well, so is Mitch's Galil. A quick entry in, and now Splyce look to have the A-bomb site. There's 2 players left up for Gale Force, and while Gushoro may be able to change things, he's just going to get shot through the smoke. Roka with a quick tap, and Tommy with a trade, but it's not enough. He's got a 1v3 to find.
Yeah, despite very aggressively buying off the back to first round bomb plant. Some teams would wait and buy AK Stir, but not Splyce. They wanted to go ahead and just get the Galeals out here and now. And they have Tommy in a very difficult 1v3. Gets caught by Roka over at Forklift, and it's now 14-3 in favor of Splyce. This is looking very scary for Gale Force. Again, this was their map pick, and they're struggling quite a lot, and they have to go into Nuke next, which is probably one of Splyce's best maps, one of Gale Force's worst, as far as the fact they just don't play it very often. So they're in a really, you know, tricky situation now.
Yeah, that's to say the very least, right? 14-3. This is ridiculous. This is what we said to us before the game. What was going to be a close game that we said certainly we'll go to 3 maps. Certainly we'll go to 3 maps. It's 14-3 on the first one, and Splyce beating Gale Force's map pick. Let's see if they can turn it around, because now's the time to stop. DB on B. Roka hits a shot, and the molly forces Tommy to his own death. The Splyce, they go for a standard smoke take, 1 smoke towards the spawn, and molly on the site as well, and there's the round pretty much. 14 going to be 15 as Gale Force, they're left with 3 pistols already running for their lives, and Sempis is chasing them as he has been this entire game. He won't be able to find too much more than damage as they'll shut him down on the exit, and Gale Force wait for more. The Splyce, they're not feeding them any breakfast today, they're just holding on to the bomb site, and this seems to be 15.
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot of hope here for Gale Force, especially just getting reset like that right off the top here in the second half. Obviously, they got reset twice in the first half, which was huge problems for their economy, and it looks like a very similar story in this one as well, as Splyce will go ahead and get themselves to that point here on cash. And Gale Force still just, they have no money. I mean, what can they really do? I mean, they can get some upgraded pistols and armor, I guess. Maybe there's enough money for someone to get like UMP armor. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just some pistols, a little bit of nades, a couple of scouts are coming out. There's just nothing there.
No, there really isn't. This is slightly unfortunate for Gale Force, but it's, again, a product of their own misdoing by losing that anti-eco that Splyce so confidently, as you said, brought up rifles in, and it worked. We're going to see a quick play towards A, maybe, but Tootin goes for the challenge. Molotov down in main stops the aggression and catches him off guard. Mitch will take the kill. Now Splyce looking for more, and Ro8 again just tapping his way out as they start to rush the A main. Door's going to be taken as well. Marky runs out of ammo, and we know how long that CZ takes to load. He'll be dead in an instant. Tommy can't connect too much other than a single kill, and Splyce, they seem to have the round with this ramp. Sempic comes in through middle, shuts down Gashoro, and this leaves just nothing. Bots him, but it won't be enough. Davey finishes it off, and that's Splyce with 16 rounds to 3 on Gale Force. What a ridiculous scoreline.
Yeah, again, it's actually funny because the last time they played Cash, Gale Force won 16-4, so Splyce doing it one better, but this time in their favor instead of being the team getting embarrassed. They're the ones doing the embarrassing to the majority team from Argentina, Marky, of course, from Mexico, but the other 4 over from Argentina. And, I mean, just a dominant display here across the board. When you look at the stats from Splyce, I mean, every single player on Splyce, if you line them up with a player from Gale Force, they've outfragged them by several kills. So just outfragging. You look at the ADR stats, it's ridiculous. Like, outside of Marky with the 114 ADR, everyone else had under 50 ADR on Gale Force, whereas, you know, everyone was, you know, at least in like the high 60s to mid 70s for Splyce. So just, you know, outflexing them in basically every stat line that has to do with damage and frags. And just in general, Splyce, you know, aggression worked for them. Majority of the time they went for it on their CT side, you know, pushing A main, pushing B lobby, disrupting any tactic Gale Force might have been going for, and outfragging their opponents while they're pushing. Resetting the economy so many times certainly didn't help either for Gale Force. They had so many rounds where they had to force spy or save. Never could really get that going either. Yeah, just an absolutely dominant victory from Splyce. There's really no other way to shake it.
Nice, so confident as well. I mean, Ro8 was the player obviously to stand out for that map, and he's back to his old, you know, classic doings, his aggressive plays that we like to see. But either way, that's the first map concluded. We're going to be heading for a break, but before that, guys, be sure to check out the giveaway that we have running right now. And we have another thing. We have a predictions. You can win yourself some cool gear. So head over to cyberpowerpc.sevo.com/either giveaway or predictions. You can win yourself stuff like graphics cards, headsets, jerseys, and mouse pads. And keyboards. Well, and mouse pads. Bit of everything. So scroll down if you're watching this on Twitch. There's the links right below. And you can enter yourself in those giveaways or predict how you think this event's going to go. Either way, we're going to be jumping over to a short break now. And we'll be back with Nuke to see if Splyce can continue their dominant fashion in just a sec.